Introduction. Technology is advancing faster than ever, and some of its creations feel like they were taken straight from the pages of science fiction. But these machines and systems are not imagination, they are real, and they already exist among us. From robotic animals to invisible surveillance, from algorithms that predict human behavior to devices that blur the line between man and machine. Tonight, we will quietly explore some of the most unsettling technologies shaping our world today. Boston Dynamics robots. Boston Dynamics is often described as a pioneer of modern robotics, but that description captures only part of its significance. The company was born out of decades of research at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where engineers explored how machines could move in ways that resembled living creatures. From the very beginning, their work stood apart from traditional robotics. Instead of designing machines that were stiff, mechanical, and limited in range, Boston Dynamics aimed to give robots balance, agility, and adaptability. These qualities, so ordinary in animals and humans, proved to be among the most difficult for machines to reproduce. Yet the company managed to bring them to life, and in doing so, created some of the most uncanny machines in existence today. The earliest projects were supported by government and military programs. Researchers wanted machines that could assist soldiers in the field, carry heavy equipment, and move across terrains where vehicles could not operate. The vision was practical. A machine that could accompany people into difficult environments and reduce the strain on human bodies. But the results went far beyond practicality. Out of these efforts came prototypes that seemed to blur the line between tool and organism. When people first saw videos of Boston Dynamics machines stumbling, regaining their balance, and continuing forward, the reaction was often one of disbelief. Machines, until then, were expected to fall over and fail when pushed. These robots, however, responded almost like living beings. Among the most famous creations are Atlas, Spot, and Handle. Atlas is a bipedal humanoid robot that can walk, run, leap, and even perform gymnastics. It is not just a machine with legs. It is a demonstration of advanced balance control, with sensors and algorithms constantly adjusting its posture to maintain stability. Spot, the four-legged robot, resembles a mechanical dog. It can climb stairs, cross rubble, open doors, and operate in environments that are too hazardous for people. Handle, designed with wheels and arms, combines robotic manipulation with smooth, gliding motion, optimized for handling packages and warehouse tasks. Each robot has its own purpose, yet they all share one striking quality. Their movements feel natural, fluid, and disturbingly familiar. What makes Boston Dynamics robots unsettling is not only their abilities, but also their resilience. Watching Atlas leap onto platforms and perform a backflip forces a viewer to reconsider what separates a machine from an athlete. Observing Spot walk on ice, regain its footing, and continue without pause highlights just how adaptive these machines are. Unlike traditional robots that freeze when encountering the unexpected, Boston Dynamics machines adjust in real time. They do not simply follow pre-programmed paths. They react, adapt, and recover. This capacity to handle chaos is what sets them apart, and it is also what makes them feel less like machines and more like autonomous creatures. Over the years, the company has shared numerous demonstration videos. These clips, often released online, have reached millions of viewers. People around the world have seen Spot trotting alongside engineers, Atlas performing coordinated routines, and robots recovering after being deliberately pushed to test their balance. While the videos are meant to showcase engineering progress, they often inspire mixed emotions. There is fascination at the brilliance of the design, but also unease at the sight of machines that no longer appear entirely under human control. For some, the movements bring to mind scenes from science fiction, where robots move with intent and independence. The boundary between research project and imagined future feels thin. The engineering behind these robots is complex and elegant. Sensors track orientation, gyroscopes measure tilt, and advanced algorithms calculate thousands of adjustments every second to maintain stability. Legs are built to absorb shocks, joints move with flexibility, and the central systems coordinate motion with remarkable precision. When Atlas runs across uneven ground, its system predicts the forces it will encounter and adapts instantly. When Spot steps onto rubble or slippery surfaces, its legs reposition before a fall can occur. The machine does not simply react. It anticipates in a limited but highly effective way. Boston Dynamics has changed ownership several times, moving from one corporation to another, each transition opening new directions for the technology. From research funded by defense projects, the company shifted toward industrial and commercial applications. Robots have been tested in construction sites, warehouses, and even law enforcement experiments. Spot has been used to inspect dangerous areas, monitor facilities, and provide remote vision to human operators. These applications are practical, but they also reveal how quickly the technology can move from laboratory demonstration to real-world presence. For many observers, the unease comes from imagining the potential of these machines beyond their stated uses. A robot that can patrol a facility could also patrol a city street. A machine that can carry loads for soldiers could, in another context, be adapted for tasks that involve enforcement or control. The very qualities that make them useful, resilience, adaptability, endurance, also make them feel slightly threatening. They are not tools in the traditional sense. They are mobile, reactive, and durable, more like mechanical organisms than passive machines. The cultural impact of Boston Dynamics robots is significant. They appear regularly in news stories, documentaries, and fictional portrayals of the future. Their presence has become symbolic of the coming age of robotics, where machines share spaces with humans in ways that are both collaborative and unsettling. Unlike industrial arms fixed in factories, these robots move through the same spaces we occupy. They walk across the same floors, climb the same stairs, and perform actions once reserved for people or animals. This physical closeness makes their capabilities more immediate and more tangible. The fascination, then, is deeply dual. On one side, Boston Dynamics robots represent extraordinary achievement. They showcase the highest levels of mechanical design, control systems, and human ingenuity. On the other side, they awaken a quiet discomfort, a recognition that technology capable of moving with such independence carries implications that reach far beyond its initial purpose. When people watch these robots, they are not only seeing machines, they are seeing the possibility of a future where the distinction between organic and mechanical movement becomes blurred. The robots embody both progress and unease, both promise and quiet fear. This is why Boston Dynamics robots are often listed among the technologies that inspire not only admiration, but also a sense of something darker. They are real, they exist today, and they demonstrate capabilities that, for decades, were only imagined. The quiet sound of their steps, the steady balance of their bodies, and the persistence of their movements remind us that the age of truly mobile machines has already arrived. Deepfake technology. Deepfake technology is one of the most striking examples of how artificial intelligence can blur the line between reality and fabrication. The word deepfake itself is a combination of deep learning, the branch of artificial intelligence responsible for generating these images and videos, and fake, which reflects the artificial and misleading nature of the results. At its core, the technology uses advanced neural networks to analyze and replicate the features of a person's face, voice, and mannerisms. With enough data, the system can create content that is almost indistinguishable from real footage, allowing someone to appear to say or do something they never actually did. The process begins with machine learning models that are trained on countless hours of video and thousands of images. These models learn to map the details of facial expressions, micromovements, and voice patterns. Once the system has learned these characteristics, it can apply them to new material, essentially overlaying one person's likeness onto another. The results can be startlingly convincing. A well-crafted deepfake video can make a politician deliver words they never spoke, an actor perform in scenes they never filmed, or an ordinary individual appear in contexts that have no connection to reality. What makes deepfake technology especially powerful is the speed of its development. Only a decade ago, attempts at face swapping were crude and easily recognizable. Today, the output of sophisticated deepfake systems can deceive not only casual viewers but also trained experts unless advanced detection tools are applied. The level of detail, from the subtle movement of lips to the rhythm of blinking, can be reproduced with such accuracy that the boundary between authentic and artificial becomes nearly invisible. The applications of this technology extend into many areas, both constructive and troubling. On one hand, filmmakers and artists have begun experimenting with deepfakes as creative tools. They can digitally resurrect historical figures, restore damaged film footage, or create performances that would otherwise be impossible. In the medical field, researchers have explored the possibility of using synthetic voices to help patients who have lost their ability to speak. These uses show that the technology, like many others, carries potential benefits when applied thoughtfully. On the other hand, the darker side of deepfake technology cannot be ignored. It has already been used to spread disinformation, manipulate public opinion, and create fabricated media designed to harm reputations. Voice cloning, a branch closely connected to deepfakes, has enabled criminals to impersonate trusted individuals during phone calls, tricking people into transferring money or revealing sensitive information. The combination of realistic video and audio manipulation makes it increasingly difficult to know whether what we see or hear is genuine. What makes deepfakes particularly unsettling is the psychological effect they produce. For centuries, human beings relied on visual and auditory evidence as proof of reality. A photograph or a recording carried weight because it was assumed to capture events as they happened. Deepfakes undermine this assumption. They erode the trust people place in media and create a world where seeing and hearing may no longer be believing. This shift does not only affect individuals, but also societies at large, as the ability to discern truth from fabrication becomes more fragile. The scale of deepfake production is expanding as the technology becomes more accessible. At first, creating a convincing deepfake required powerful computers and specialized expertise. Now, with open-source software and increasingly efficient algorithms, the process has become easier. Ordinary users with modest hardware can generate content that would have required advanced research facilities only a few years ago. This democratization means that deepfakes are no longer the domain of specialists. They are tools available to anyone with enough curiosity and determination to use them. Efforts to counter the influence of deepfakes are ongoing. Researchers are developing detection systems that analyze inconsistencies in lighting, pixel patterns, or unnatural movements. Large technology companies are working to embed authentication methods into digital media, creating ways to verify the origin of videos and images. Yet the contest between creation and detection is constant. As the generators of deepfakes improve, so too must the systems designed to identify them. It is a race without a clear finish line, where progress on one side accelerates advancement on the other. The cultural impact of deepfake technology has already begun to shape public awareness. News outlets frequently report on new cases of manipulated media, while films and documentaries highlight the potential consequences of a world where identities and events can be fabricated with ease. The very term deepfake has entered common language, symbolizing both fascination with technological progress and fear of its misuse. For many, the idea that any video could be fabricated produces a quiet anxiety, a recognition that certainty in what we observe can no longer be taken for granted. What makes this technology especially haunting is its subtlety. Unlike a robot that stands before us in physical form, deepfakes operate invisibly, embedded within the media we consume every day. They do not require us to adjust to a new machine in our environment. Instead, they quietly reshape the trust we place in the images and sounds that surround us. In this way, their presence is not obvious, but their influence is profound. They represent a silent shift in perception, altering the foundations of how we understand reality. Deepfake technology is a reminder of the double-edged nature of innovation. It demonstrates the brilliance of artificial intelligence, its ability to capture and reproduce the complexity of human expression. At the same time, it reveals the fragility of human perception and the ease with which reality can be manipulated. This balance between progress and vulnerability is what makes deepfakes so deeply unsettling. They exist today, they are spreading rapidly, and they transform not only the content we see, but the very trust we place in the evidence of our senses. Autonomous killer drones. Autonomous killer drones represent one of the most unsettling developments in modern military technology. Unlike traditional drones, which are remotely operated by human pilots, autonomous systems are designed to identify, track, and potentially engage targets without direct human control. They combine sensors, artificial intelligence, and lethal payloads, creating machines that can make decisions once reserved exclusively for people. While conventional weapons require human judgment to select and strike, autonomous drones are built to shorten or even bypass that process, raising profound questions about control, responsibility, and the future of warfare. The concept is not entirely new. For years, militaries have relied on remotely piloted drones for surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeted strikes. These systems revolutionized combat by allowing operators to control missions from thousands of miles away. But as artificial intelligence advanced, engineers began integrating autonomy into drones. At first, the autonomy was limited to navigation, the ability to fly predetermined routes, avoid obstacles, and return safely without constant guidance. Gradually, however, more functions became automated, detecting enemy positions, prioritizing threats, and coordinating movements with other drones in a swarm. The step from assistance to independence has been gradual but steady. Autonomous killer drones rely on a variety of sensors to perceive their environment. Cameras, radar, and infrared systems allow them to map terrain and identify objects in real time. Machine learning algorithms process this information, distinguishing between vehicles, structures, and people. Once trained on enough data, these systems can operate with remarkable accuracy, recognizing patterns and responding to them faster than any human operator could. The ability to react instantly without hesitation or fatigue is often described as a tactical advantage. Yet it is precisely the speed and autonomy that many observers find troubling, because it reduces human oversight at the very moment when moral judgment is most needed. The unsettling aspect of these drones lies not only in their capabilities but also in their potential scale. A single autonomous drone may be limited in effect, but groups of them, acting as coordinated swarms, can overwhelm defenses. Engineers have demonstrated systems in which dozens of drones fly together, communicating wirelessly and adjusting their flight paths as if they were part of a single organism. Each unit may be small and inexpensive, but collectively they form a force that is difficult to stop. The swarm does not tire, does not panic, and can adapt its movements continuously, creating a new form of battlefield presence. Military demonstrations in recent years have shown prototypes capable of independent operation. Some can identify vehicles and track them across landscapes. Others can loiter over an area, waiting for a signal or algorithmic decision to strike. Unlike guided missiles, which follow a direct path to a target, these drones can circle, reposition, and select from multiple options. The human role in such missions is often described as on the loop rather than in the loop. Instead of making every decision, the operator supervises the process, while the machine carries out most of the work. This subtle shift in control has profound consequences. The ethical concerns surrounding autonomous killer drones are widespread. Human beings are capable of weighing context, considering intent, and exercising restraint. Machines, in contrast, operate strictly according to programmed rules and learned patterns. They do not understand surrender, they cannot evaluate moral dilemmas, and they cannot be held accountable. The fear is that once machines are given authority over life and death decisions, warfare may become faster, less restrained, and more difficult to control. Critics warn that delegating lethal force to algorithms risks creating conflicts that escalate without the checks and balances provided by human judgment. Another dimension of concern is accessibility. As technology becomes cheaper and more widely available, autonomous drones are no longer limited to major military powers. Smaller nations, private groups, and even non-state actors may acquire or improvise their own versions. A drone capable of identifying targets and delivering explosives does not require the resources of a superpower once the underlying algorithms are open source and the hardware is commercially available. This diffusion of capability increases the risk that autonomous weapons could be used in unpredictable and destabilizing ways. The physical characteristics of these drones also contribute to the sense of unease. Many are small, portable, and difficult to detect. Unlike traditional aircraft, which require large runways and heavy equipment, drones can be launched from compact platforms. They can hover quietly, navigate urban environments, and operate in swarms that overwhelm defenses. Their silence, persistence, and precision make them uniquely suited for targeted operations, but also particularly chilling in the way they appear to remove humanity from the battlefield. International organizations and human rights groups have raised alarms about these developments. Proposals for bans or strict regulations have been debated, but reaching consensus is challenging. Some nations argue that autonomous systems provide strategic advantages that cannot be ignored. Others caution that once such weapons are deployed, their proliferation will be impossible to reverse. The absence of clear international agreements means that development continues, often behind closed doors, and the boundaries of what is possible expand quietly year by year. The idea of machines deciding who lives and who dies is deeply unsettling, not because it belongs to science fiction, but because it already exists in early forms today. Autonomous killer drones are not imagined. They are tested, demonstrated, and, in some cases, deployed. Their presence reflects both the ingenuity of engineering and the vulnerability of ethical boundaries. In them, the power of artificial intelligence is transformed into a tool of conflict, amplifying human capabilities while diminishing human control. The quiet hum of their rotors, the precision of their sensors, and the autonomy of their flight all point to a future where machines participate directly in combat. Whether that future is one of safety or danger depends not only on the technology itself but on the choices societies make about its use. For now, the existence of autonomous killer drones serves as a reminder that the age of independent machines is no longer a vision of tomorrow. It has already arrived, carrying with it both tactical advantages and profound unease. China's social credit system. China's social credit system is one of the most ambitious and controversial examples of technology being used to shape social behavior on a nationwide scale. At its core, the system is designed to evaluate the trustworthiness of individuals, businesses, and even institutions. Unlike financial credit scores, which focus narrowly on economic behavior, the social credit system aims to measure a far broader spectrum of actions, from financial reliability to social conduct, from respect for laws to patterns of daily life. The idea is that through constant monitoring and scoring, society can be guided toward greater order, efficiency, and compliance. Yet the methods and implications of this system have raised widespread concern both inside and outside China. The origins of the project date back to the early 2000s, when Chinese policymakers began exploring ways to strengthen trust in markets and governance. A country of enormous scale, with hundreds of millions of consumers and businesses, required mechanisms to ensure honesty and accountability. Traditional methods of oversight were seen as insufficient. With the rise of digital technologies, vast data networks, and increasingly sophisticated surveillance systems, the possibility of creating a comprehensive rating framework became feasible. By the mid-2010s, pilot projects began appearing in various cities, each testing different approaches to monitoring and scoring. The mechanics of the system rely on a wide range of data sources. Financial records, such as loan repayments and tax history, are obvious components. But the system also extends into domains that many consider private or personal. Traffic violations, court judgments, and even the timeliness of bill payments can affect a person's score. In some pilot programs, behavior such as purchasing certain goods, spreading misinformation online, or associating with individuals who have low scores is also recorded. This information is compiled into profiles that assign ratings reflecting perceived trustworthiness. The consequences of these scores are tangible. High scores can bring privileges, easier access to loans, faster processing of bureaucratic procedures, and even preferential treatment in job applications. Low scores, by contrast, may result in restrictions. People have reported being unable to buy plane or train tickets, enroll their children in certain schools, or qualify for desirable jobs if their rating falls below a threshold. In this way, the system functions not only as a passive measure of behavior but also as an active mechanism of reward and punishment. The technological backbone of the social credit system includes advanced surveillance networks. Cameras with facial recognition software are deployed in cities across the country, monitoring movement and activity in public spaces. Online behavior is tracked through platforms that record interactions, purchases, and communications. Financial technology companies also contribute, as digital payment systems provide detailed records of spending habits. The combination of these sources creates a web of data that allows for continuous observation and evaluation of citizens. What makes the system so unsettling is not only its scale but also its integration into everyday life. Unlike traditional law enforcement, which intervenes only when rules are broken, the social credit system operates continuously, silently monitoring actions and decisions. It does not merely react to behavior. It anticipates, shapes, and directs it. Over time, the awareness that one's every move may be recorded and judged can influence how people act in subtle but profound ways. The government has described the system as a tool for building trust, promoting responsibility, and ensuring harmony. Official statements emphasize its role in combating fraud, reducing corruption, and creating a culture of integrity. Yet critics argue that the same mechanisms can suppress individuality, limit freedom, and enforce conformity. The power to define what counts as trustworthy behavior lies in the hands of authorities, meaning that the system can be adapted to suit political goals as well as social ones. Outside China, the idea of the social credit system has generated fascination and alarm. Some observers see it as a glimpse of a possible future where technology and governance merge into a seamless apparatus of control. Others view it as a warning of how easily surveillance and data collection can extend beyond convenience into coercion. While many countries already use algorithms to assess risk, allocate resources, or monitor compliance, the comprehensive nature of China's system makes it stand apart. It is not limited to one sector. It is a framework that encompasses nearly every aspect of daily life. For individuals within the system, the experience can vary widely. Those who maintain high scores may find life becoming smoother, with fewer obstacles and more opportunities. Those with low scores may encounter invisible walls at every step, from transportation to education. In this way, the system divides society not through visible barriers but through digital reputations, silently shaping lives according to numbers calculated behind the scenes. The social credit system reflects the potential and the peril of data-driven governance. On one hand, it demonstrates the ability of technology to gather and analyze vast amounts of information, creating structures of accountability that were previously impossible. On the other hand, it highlights how such power can be used to direct behavior in ways that limit autonomy and reshape human interaction. Its existence reminds the world that, in the digital age, control does not need to be exercised through physical force. It can be enacted quietly through algorithms, scores, and access to opportunities. In this sense, China's social credit system is more than just a national project. It is a symbol of how deeply technology can penetrate the fabric of society. It shows what becomes possible when surveillance, data analysis, and governance converge. For some, it is a model of efficiency. For others, it is a vision of constraint. Either way, it is real, it is functioning, and it illustrates a path that is both technically feasible and socially unsettling. Boston Dynamics BigDog. Boston Dynamics BigDog is one of the earliest and most iconic creations of the company, a machine that left a lasting impression on the public and on the field of robotics. Developed in the mid-2000s with funding from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, BigDog was designed to serve as a robotic pack animal for soldiers in the field. The goal was simple in theory yet extremely difficult in practice. Create a machine that could carry heavy loads across rough terrain, maintaining balance and stability where wheeled or tracked vehicles could not. From the moment it was introduced, BigDog captured attention because it looked and moved so differently from traditional machines. Standing on 4 legs, powered by a gasoline engine and hydraulic systems, it resembled a strange fusion of animal and machine. Its frame was utilitarian, with exposed components and no attempt to disguise its mechanical nature. Yet, despite this mechanical appearance, the way it moved was strikingly lifelike. BigDog could walk, trot, climb, and recover from slips with movements that evoked the resilience of a living creature. The engineering behind BigDog was remarkable for its time. Each leg was equipped with sensors that measured force, allowing the robot to adjust instantly to uneven ground. Gyroscopes and onboard computers calculated balance in real time, making it possible for BigDog to regain stability when pushed or when slipping on ice. Videos of these demonstrations quickly spread across the internet, showing the robot struggling, recovering, and continuing its march. For many viewers, the sight was both fascinating and unsettling. The machine did not move like a traditional robot. It staggered, stumbled, and persisted with a determination that seemed almost alive. BigDog could carry loads of up to 150 kilograms, making it a valuable potential companion for soldiers who often bear heavy burdens during long marches. It was designed to navigate environments where trucks and armored vehicles would fail: forests, mountains, rubble, and snow. In demonstrations, it proved capable of climbing steep slopes, wading through mud, and walking across icy ground. This adaptability was one of its defining features. Unlike vehicles restricted to roads, BigDog was built to follow soldiers wherever they went, carrying supplies without tiring. Despite its impressive abilities, BigDog was also remembered for its noise. Powered by a gasoline engine, it emitted a sound more like a lawnmower or chainsaw than a silent animal. This constant roar made it impractical for battlefield use, where stealth is often essential. Engineers explored quieter designs in later projects, but BigDog remained a prototype that highlighted both the possibilities and the limitations of legged machines. The noise, combined with its appearance, contributed to the eerie impression it left on those who encountered it. The cultural impact of BigDog was significant. Its videos circulated widely online, sparking debates about the future of robotics and the relationship between humans and machines. Viewers often remarked on how strange it felt to watch a robot regain its balance or continue walking after being pushed. The reactions ranged from admiration for the engineering achievement to unease at the lifelike qualities of the machine. For many, BigDog became a symbol of the thin line between useful technology and unsettling imitation of nature. Although BigDog never entered mass production for military use, its legacy shaped the direction of Boston Dynamics and the robotics industry more broadly. The lessons learned from its design influenced later robots such as Spot, which refined the quadrupedal form into a more compact, versatile, and commercially viable platform. BigDog demonstrated that legged locomotion was not only possible but also practical in environments where wheels and tracks fail. It opened the door for a new generation of machines designed to operate in human and natural landscapes alike. The unsettling quality of BigDog lies in the way it combines mechanical resilience with lifelike behavior. Watching it stumble and recover triggers an instinctive response, as if one is witnessing an animal struggling to regain its footing. The fact that it is not alive, that it is powered by hydraulics and algorithms rather than muscle and instinct, only deepens the sense of unease. It is a reminder that the boundary between organic motion and mechanical imitation is not as solid as once believed. BigDog remains one of the most memorable experiments in robotics because it embodied both ambition and imperfection. It was noisy, bulky, and limited in some respects, yet it showed what was possible when engineers pursued the challenge of mimicking animal locomotion. Its existence demonstrated that robots could move beyond flat floors and factory lines, into the rough and unpredictable spaces of the real world. Even though it was eventually retired, BigDog continues to be cited in discussions of robotics history. It stands as a milestone in the progression from rigid, industrial machines to agile, adaptive robots capable of navigating environments alongside humans. The sound of its engine, the clatter of its legs, and the strange realism of its movements remain etched in memory. For many, BigDog represents the moment when machines began to move in ways that were no longer fully mechanical, but not yet entirely natural, a strange space between invention and imitation that still captures the imagination today. Brain-computer interfaces. Brain-computer interfaces, often abbreviated as BCIs, represent one of the most intriguing and unsettling directions in modern technology. At their core, BCIs are systems that create a direct communication pathway between the human brain and an external device. Unlike traditional interaction methods, such as keyboards, touchscreens, or voice commands, BCIs bypass the body's usual channels of movement and speech. Instead, they translate neural activity itself into digital signals that machines can interpret. This opens extraordinary possibilities, but it also introduces profound questions about the limits of human control, autonomy, and identity. The origins of BCIs can be traced to neuroscience research in the mid-20th century, when scientists first began mapping electrical activity in the brain. Electroencephalography, or EEG, allowed researchers to observe patterns of brain waves through electrodes placed on the scalp. Over time, this led to experiments in which signals associated with specific intentions, such as moving a hand or focusing on a letter, could be detected and classified. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, researchers had developed early prototypes of systems that allowed users to move cursors on a screen, control robotic arms, or even type simple words using thought alone. The promise of BCIs has always been most visible in medicine. For individuals with paralysis, spinal cord injuries, or neurodegenerative diseases, these interfaces hold the potential to restore a measure of independence. A person unable to move their limbs might regain the ability to control a wheelchair through thought, or to communicate by selecting words on a computer without the need for physical motion. For families and caregivers, such advances can transform lives, bridging the gap between silence and expression, stillness and action. Yet the technology extends beyond medical applications. Researchers and companies are now exploring BCIs for entertainment, productivity, and even military use. Imagine playing a video game not by pressing buttons but by directing actions with focused thought, or composing text messages without moving a finger. In laboratories, some have demonstrated the ability to manipulate drones, robotic arms, or digital environments using brain signals alone. The allure of this seamless integration between mind and machine has fueled investments and accelerated development. The mechanisms of BCIs vary. Non-invasive systems, such as EEG headsets, detect electrical activity through the scalp. While safe and relatively easy to use, they are limited in precision and can be influenced by noise and interference. More invasive systems involve implanting electrodes directly into the brain tissue, providing far more accurate readings of neural signals. These invasive methods have enabled remarkable demonstrations, such as individuals controlling robotic limbs with impressive dexterity. However, they come with significant risks, including infection, surgical complications, and long-term health concerns. What makes BCIs both fascinating and unsettling is the depth of access they provide. Traditional technologies interpret actions after they are carried out. A computer registers a keystroke, a screen responds to a touch, a system listens to a spoken command. BCIs, by contrast, tap directly into the brain's signals, sometimes even before conscious awareness. They are not simply reading behavior, they are interfacing with the very substrate of thought and intention. This closeness raises questions about privacy, influence, and control that extend beyond technical feasibility. In experiments, BCIs have already demonstrated the ability to decode simple intentions, such as moving a cursor left or right, or selecting a letter from a grid. With machine learning, these systems improve over time, learning to recognize patterns unique to each individual. The more data collected, the better the system becomes at predicting what the user wants to do. This adaptability is both a strength and a source of unease. It suggests a future in which devices not only follow commands but anticipate them, narrowing the space between thought and action. For many observers, the potential risks are as striking as the possibilities. If a device can read signals from the brain, could it also influence them? Some researchers have explored stimulation techniques, where electrical impulses are delivered back into the brain to modulate activity. These methods, already used in treatments for conditions such as Parkinson's disease, raise the possibility of bidirectional interfaces, systems that not only read from the brain but also write to it. Such capabilities could bring medical breakthroughs, but they also blur the line between assistance and manipulation. The cultural perception of BCIs reflects this duality. On one hand, they are symbols of hope, offering life-changing tools for people with disabilities. On the other, they appear in speculative fiction as instruments of control, where thoughts are monitored, influenced, or even overridden by external systems. The very notion of a machine that can access the inner workings of the mind challenges deeply held ideas about privacy and individuality. In the real world, most BCIs remain experimental, confined to laboratories or clinical trials. Yet progress is steady, and each breakthrough brings the concept closer to everyday reality. Companies have announced ambitious goals of developing commercial implants, positioning BCIs as tools not just for therapy but for enhancing human capabilities. While many of these visions remain speculative, the pace of development suggests that elements once considered science fiction are slowly entering the realm of practical technology. The unsettling nature of brain-computer interfaces lies in their intimacy. They are not distant machines, operated through external gestures, but technologies that merge with the most personal aspects of human existence: thought, intention, and awareness. They promise empowerment and freedom for some, but also embody the possibility of surveillance and influence at a level more profound than any previous technology. In reflecting on BCIs, one is reminded that progress in technology often carries two faces. What can heal can also control, what can liberate can also constrain. Brain-computer interfaces stand at that threshold, offering visions of both remarkable assistance and profound intrusion. They reveal how thin the boundary can become between human and machine, and how deeply technology may one day intertwine with the essence of what it means to think, to choose, and to be. Facial recognition surveillance. Facial recognition surveillance is one of the most widespread and controversial technologies in the modern world. At its core, the system is simple in concept. A camera captures an image of a face, software analyzes its features, and the algorithm compares those measurements against a database of stored identities. What makes it extraordinary is not the individual act of recognition, but the ability to do this automatically, instantly, and at massive scale. A single camera connected to such a system can scan crowds in real time, identifying people without their knowledge and linking them to records that extend across entire societies. The foundations of this technology go back decades, when researchers first began studying how to describe the human face in mathematical terms. Early systems measured distances between key landmarks such as eyes, nose, and mouth. Over time, advances in computing and the development of machine learning made it possible to analyze faces with far greater accuracy. Today's algorithms do not rely on a few measurements alone. They process thousands of subtle features, comparing textures, angles, and patterns to create a unique digital signature for each face. In practice, facial recognition has been adopted in many everyday contexts. Smartphones unlock by scanning their owner's face. Airports use the technology to streamline boarding and customs checks. Banks experiment with it as a method of authentication for financial transactions. These uses are often presented as convenient and secure alternatives to passwords or identification cards. For individuals, the act may feel routine, looking into a phone or camera for a moment and moving on without further thought. But the same technology also underlies vast networks of surveillance. In many cities, cameras are placed on streets, in transportation hubs, and around public buildings, all feeding images into centralized databases. Authorities can use these systems to track the movement of individuals, identify suspects, or monitor gatherings. What once required teams of observers scanning video feeds can now be done automatically, silently, and continuously by software. The power of such systems lies in their invisibility. Unlike checkpoints or physical barriers, facial recognition requires no direct interaction. A person does not need to stop, present a document, or even be aware that they are being scanned. The act is passive, occurring as people go about their daily lives. This creates a form of surveillance that is constant yet almost imperceptible, woven into the background of ordinary environments. Proponents argue that the technology enhances security. It can help locate missing persons, identify dangerous individuals, and prevent crimes. In emergencies, it allows authorities to respond quickly by providing precise information about who is present in a given place. In theory, it creates safer spaces by making it harder for threats to move unnoticed. Yet, the very strengths of facial recognition also embody its dangers. The ability to monitor large populations continuously gives unprecedented power to those who control the systems. Privacy is not merely reduced, it is redefined. Being in public no longer means anonymity within a crowd. Instead, every appearance is recorded, analyzed, and potentially stored indefinitely. Accuracy, too, presents challenges. While algorithms have improved, they are not flawless. Studies have shown variations in performance across different populations, with higher rates of error for certain demographics. In sensitive applications, even small inaccuracies can lead to misidentification, wrongful suspicion, or denial of services. These risks highlight how reliance on automated recognition can have real consequences for individuals caught in its gaze. Beyond technical accuracy, the larger concern is the scope of use. When a technology enables constant monitoring, the temptation to expand its purpose is strong. Systems introduced for safety can be applied to track political activity, monitor protests, or observe personal associations. The line between protection and control becomes blurred, depending on how the system is directed and by whom. For many people, the unease arises not from the mechanics of facial recognition, but from its implications. A face is deeply personal. It is both a marker of identity and an expression of individuality. To have it reduced to a digital code, analyzed and stored by unseen systems, can feel dehumanizing. The knowledge that every step in public may be recorded alters the sense of freedom in movement. Even without direct confrontation, the awareness of surveillance shapes behavior in subtle, lasting ways. Around the world, debates continue about how to regulate facial recognition. Some cities and regions have imposed restrictions, banning its use by police or limiting deployment in public spaces. Others have embraced it fully, integrating it into everyday governance and security. The diversity of approaches reflects the tension between convenience, safety, and personal liberty. What makes facial recognition surveillance so striking is its ordinariness. Unlike futuristic technologies that exist only in laboratories, it is already present in airports, smartphones, and streets. It has become part of the infrastructure of modern life, often unnoticed yet constantly active. It demonstrates how a tool designed for identification can evolve into a mechanism for comprehensive observation. In reflecting on this technology, one is reminded of how rapidly the boundary between private and public life can shift. What once required deliberate exposure, showing a passport, presenting an ID card, can now occur without consent, automatically and invisibly. Facial recognition surveillance illustrates how advances meant to provide convenience and security can also create an environment of continuous oversight. It is both a tool of efficiency and a reminder of the profound changes that occur when identity itself becomes data to be scanned, stored, and tracked. Autonomous swarm robots. Autonomous swarm robots represent a class of technology inspired by patterns found in nature. The principle is simple yet profound. Instead of relying on a single powerful machine to accomplish a task, large numbers of smaller, simpler robots work together as a collective. Just as colonies of ants can build complex structures or flocks of birds can move in synchronized patterns without central control, swarm robots operate through decentralized coordination. Each unit follows basic rules, yet when multiplied across dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of machines, their combined behavior creates surprising complexity and effectiveness. The origins of swarm robotics lie in both biology and computer science. Researchers observed that natural swarms achieve feats no individual member could accomplish alone. Ants find food sources and establish trails. Bees coordinate foraging across wide areas, and fish move as one to evade predators. The rules guiding each creature are simple: follow the neighbor, avoid collision, stay within a certain range. But the result is resilience, adaptability, and efficiency. By translating these biological principles into algorithms, engineers have been able to design robotic systems that mimic collective intelligence. In practical terms, swarm robots are usually small, lightweight machines, each with limited capability. A single unit may be able to move, sense its surroundings, and communicate with nearby peers. On its own, such a robot achieves little. But when deployed in numbers, the swarm can cover large areas, adapt to changes in the environment, and continue functioning even if individual units fail. This redundancy makes swarms resilient, a trait that is particularly valuable in unpredictable or hazardous settings. Applications for these systems are already being explored. In agriculture, swarms of robots could monitor crop health, distribute fertilizer, or control pests without relying on large machinery. In disaster response, swarms could search through rubble after earthquakes, locating survivors in places too dangerous for human rescuers. In environmental science, they might map ecosystems, track pollution, or monitor wildlife over vast terrains. The decentralized nature of swarm robots means they can scale to tasks that are too large or complex for single machines. One of the most discussed uses of swarm robotics lies in the military domain. A group of drones, operating autonomously yet in coordination, could overwhelm defenses, gather intelligence, or carry out missions in environments too dangerous for soldiers. Unlike traditional weapons, which are controlled directly, swarms function more like self-organizing systems, adapting in real time to countermeasures. This potential has drawn attention from defense agencies around the world, as the ability to deploy large numbers of autonomous units represents a new paradigm in warfare. What makes autonomous swarms particularly unsettling is their independence from direct human control. While humans may set objectives or constraints, the detailed behavior emerges from algorithms guiding each unit. Once deployed, the swarm reacts collectively to the environment, often in ways that surprise even its designers. This unpredictability is part of its strength, allowing it to adapt to unforeseen circumstances, but it also means that outcomes are not always fully predictable. The idea of hundreds of machines coordinating actions without centralized oversight raises questions about accountability, control, and safety. The visual impact of swarm robots is also striking. Videos of coordinated drones flying in formation, shifting shapes across the night sky, evoke both wonder and unease. In artistic contexts, such displays are celebrated as technological choreography. Yet in other contexts, the same spectacle can appear threatening, a reminder that coordination at scale can be harnessed for purposes far beyond entertainment. The line between beauty and intimidation becomes thin when the agents of coordination are autonomous machines. Technically, the challenges of swarm robotics involve communication, navigation, and robustness. Each unit must be able to sense its neighbors, share information, and adjust behavior quickly. Too much reliance on communication can create bottlenecks, while too little can reduce coordination. Balancing autonomy with cooperation is a delicate process. Progress in sensors, wireless communication, and machine learning has made swarms increasingly capable, moving them from laboratory experiments to field tests. For many observers, the unsettling quality of swarm robots lies in their scale and their autonomy. A single robot may be harmless, but 100 acting in unison embody a different presence altogether. The swarm becomes more than the sum of its parts, a collective agent with capabilities beyond those of any individual unit. Watching them move, one senses both the elegance of natural patterns and the weight of technological power. The future of autonomous swarm robots remains open. They may become invaluable tools for science, industry, and rescue operations, quietly performing tasks that benefit society. At the same time, their potential for surveillance, control, and military use cannot be ignored. They embody the dual nature of technology, capable of healing or harming, depending on the intentions behind their deployment. Ultimately, swarm robotics reflects a broader trend in technology: the shift from centralized, top-down control to distributed emergent systems. Instead of one machine executing a plan, many machines interact to create behavior that no single unit contains. This mirrors not only natural systems but also the growing reliance on networks, algorithms, and collective computation in human society. The presence of such systems invites both awe and caution, as they demonstrate how technology can evolve from tools in human hands to entities that operate with a degree of independence. Autonomous swarm robots remind us that complexity does not always require complexity at the individual level. Sometimes, simplicity multiplied across scale produces results that defy expectation. They are a vision of how machines might act together, not as isolated tools but as coordinated collectives. In their promise and in their peril, they show how far technology has come in mimicking the intelligence of nature, and how far it might go in shaping the environments of tomorrow. Military exoskeletons. Military exoskeletons are wearable machines designed to augment the strength, endurance, and capabilities of soldiers on the battlefield. The concept is simple to describe: a powered frame attached to the body that enhances human performance. Yet the implications are far-reaching. By merging man and machine in this intimate way, exoskeletons shift the boundary of what a single soldier can achieve, turning human limitations into technical challenges to be engineered away. The origins of military exoskeletons lie in both science fiction and early research into assistive devices. For decades, stories imagined suits of armor that granted extraordinary strength, speed, or protection. In laboratories, engineers began to explore practical prototypes as early as the 1960s. These first attempts were bulky and impractical, requiring large power sources and complex mechanisms. But advances in robotics, materials science, and battery technology gradually transformed the vision into functioning machines. By the 2000s, serious development programs were underway in several countries, with prototypes tested for military and industrial applications. The basic design of an exoskeleton involves mechanical joints aligned with the wearer's body, powered by motors, hydraulics, or pneumatics. Sensors detect the user's movements and intentions, and the system amplifies them, allowing a soldier to carry heavy loads with reduced effort. A backpack that would normally strain muscles becomes manageable. A march that would exhaust a soldier can be extended for miles. The exoskeleton does not replace the human body. It augments it, enabling endurance beyond natural capacity. For militaries, the potential is clear. Soldiers often operate under extreme physical demands, carrying equipment, ammunition, and supplies across long distances. Fatigue can limit effectiveness, slow response, and increase vulnerability. With exoskeletons, the burden shifts from muscle to machine, reducing strain and injury. In theory, this translates into longer missions, faster movement, and improved resilience under battlefield conditions. Beyond simple strength, exoskeletons can also provide stability and protection. Some prototypes integrate armor plating, turning the frame into both a support and a shield. Others include systems to monitor vital signs, track location, or integrate with communications equipment. The exoskeleton becomes not just an aid to the body, but a platform for connecting the soldier with larger networks of information and command. The promise of exoskeletons extends to logistics as well. Moving supplies, repairing infrastructure, and performing heavy labor in challenging environments could all be enhanced by powered suits. A soldier might lift weights that normally require several people, or operate tools with far greater force and precision. In these roles, the exoskeleton acts less as a weapon and more as an enabler, expanding what individuals can accomplish. Yet the technology also carries unsettling aspects. By amplifying human strength, exoskeletons blur the line between natural and engineered ability. A soldier in such a suit is not simply a person with training and skill, but a hybrid of flesh and machine. This raises questions about dependency, whether armies may come to rely on suits as much as they rely on weapons, and about escalation, as opposing forces develop increasingly advanced systems in response. Practical challenges remain. Power is one of the greatest. Batteries capable of running motors and sensors for extended periods are heavy and limited in duration. Gasoline-powered systems can provide more endurance but create noise and heat. Engineers continue to experiment with solutions, but the balance between power, mobility, and sustainability remains difficult to perfect. Reliability is another challenge. On a battlefield, machines are exposed to dust, mud, rain, and shock. An exoskeleton must withstand these conditions without failure, because any malfunction could endanger the soldier who depends on it. Cultural perception of military exoskeletons is shaped by their resemblance to science fiction imagery. Suits of powered armor evoke visions of futuristic soldiers, seemingly invincible and beyond ordinary limits. Demonstrations of prototypes often fuel this impression, showing soldiers easily lifting heavy loads or running with enhanced speed. For many, the sight is both fascinating and unnerving. It suggests not only a change in individual capability, but also a shift in warfare itself, toward combat where machines are integrated directly with the human body. Outside the military, exoskeletons are also being developed for medical and industrial purposes. Paraplegic patients may use them to walk again, while factory workers can employ them to reduce fatigue and injury. These applications highlight the dual nature of the technology. What serves as an instrument of healing and productivity in one context can be an instrument of power and dominance in another. The frame is the same. Its use depends on intent. The unsettling dimension of military exoskeletons lies in their intimacy. Unlike tanks, drones, or aircraft, these machines are not separate from the human operator. They are worn, wrapped around the body, moving in sync with every step and gesture. This closeness blurs the boundary between tool and self, raising the question of whether the soldier is enhanced by the suit or whether the suit defines the soldier. The merging of man and machine at such a direct level reflects a future where technology no longer surrounds humanity but integrates with it. In reflecting on exoskeletons, one sees the broader trajectory of technological development, not only to build stronger machines, but to extend the human form itself. They embody both the dream of overcoming limitations and the reality of creating new dependencies. Military exoskeletons show how the pursuit of strength and endurance can lead to a transformation of identity, where the soldier is no longer defined solely by training and willpower but by the machinery that augments those qualities. Ultimately, these devices symbolize a frontier where technology becomes inseparable from the human body. Whether they remain tools of burden reduction or evolve into fully integrated combat systems, exoskeletons mark a profound step toward a future in which the boundaries of human capability are no longer dictated by biology alone, but by the machines we choose to wear. Predictive policing algorithms. Predictive policing algorithms represent one of the most striking examples of how data and computation are being woven into the fabric of law enforcement. The central idea is to use past crime data, combined with statistical models and machine learning, to anticipate where crimes are most likely to occur and, in some cases, who might be involved. In theory, such systems promise efficiency. By directing police resources to high-risk areas at the right times, they aim to prevent crimes before they happen. Yet the implications of this approach are complex, raising questions about fairness, transparency, and the nature of justice itself. The concept originates from the simple observation that crime is not evenly distributed in time or space. Certain neighborhoods experience more incidents than others, and patterns can often be identified in when and where specific types of crime occur. Long before the advent of modern algorithms, police departments used crime maps and statistical records to guide patrols. Predictive policing extends this logic into the digital age, applying advanced computational models to vast databases of incidents, arrests, and reports. Technically, predictive policing algorithms operate in several ways. Some systems focus on place-based prediction, analyzing geographic patterns to determine where crime is most likely to occur in the near future. Others use person-based prediction, assessing the likelihood that specific individuals might commit or become victims of crime. These predictions rely on variables drawn from official records, past arrests, associations, neighborhood characteristics, and even social connections. The algorithms process these data to highlight areas or individuals considered high risk. For law enforcement agencies, the appeal is clear. Resources are limited, and the ability to anticipate crime allows departments to allocate officers more efficiently. Instead of reactive policing, where action follows an incident, predictive systems aim to enable proactive measures, increasing patrols in a predicted hotspot, engaging with communities before problems escalate, or monitoring individuals flagged as at risk. The promise is a safer society, maintained not only by responding to crime but by anticipating and preventing it. Yet the unsettling aspects of these systems emerge when one looks closely at how they function. Algorithms are not neutral. They reflect the data they are trained on. If past policing has been uneven or biased, those patterns become embedded in the model. A neighborhood that historically received more police attention will produce more recorded incidents, which then feed into the algorithm, which in turn directs more patrols to the same neighborhood. This feedback loop can amplify disparities, reinforcing patterns of surveillance and enforcement rather than correcting them. The opacity of these systems adds to the unease. Many predictive policing tools are developed by private companies, with algorithms treated as proprietary secrets. Communities and even officers themselves may not know exactly how predictions are generated. This lack of transparency makes it difficult to evaluate accuracy, challenge errors, or ensure accountability. For individuals flagged by such systems, The consequences can be significant: more frequent police attention, increased scrutiny or restrictions, without clear explanation of why they were targeted. Accuracy is another concern. While predictive policing can identify statistical trends, crime is influenced by countless social, economic, and personal factors that resist quantification. No algorithm can capture the full complexity of human behavior. False positives, areas, or individuals flagged as high risk without cause are inevitable. In the context of law enforcement, even a small rate of error can have profound impacts on lives, shaping how people are treated and perceived within their communities. The presence of predictive policing also alters the relationship between police and the public. Traditional policing already involves power and authority, but when guided by algorithms, it can feel less human, more mechanical. For residents of neighborhoods identified as hotspots, the constant presence of officers may feel less like protection and more like surveillance. The sense of being watched or judged by a system that operates invisibly, without direct input or consent, can change how people experience public space. Proponents argue that predictive algorithms, if designed carefully, can reduce subjectivity and improve fairness by relying on data rather than intuition or prejudice. They point to successes where crime rates have declined following the introduction of such systems. Critics counter that data itself is never free from bias, and that reducing human judgment to numbers may obscure rather than resolve inequities. The debate continues, reflecting broader concerns about the role of artificial intelligence in decision-making across society. What makes predictive policing algorithms so striking is not only their technical sophistication but also their quiet, pervasive presence. They do not resemble traditional machines, no towering robots or visible hardware. Instead, they are lines of code, statistical models running on servers, invisible yet influential. They embody the shift from physical enforcement to digital governance, where actions are shaped by probabilities rather than direct evidence. In reflecting on this technology, one is reminded that prediction is not certainty. An algorithm may highlight risks, but it cannot guarantee outcomes. Treating predictions as destiny risks narrowing the range of possibilities for individuals and communities, turning statistical likelihoods into self-fulfilling realities. The unsettling truth is that systems designed to prevent crime may also reshape society's understanding of guilt, risk, and freedom. Ultimately, predictive policing algorithms illustrate the dual nature of technological progress. They offer tools for efficiency and safety, but they also carry the potential to entrench inequality and reduce transparency. They remind us that the pursuit of security through data is never neutral. It reflects choices about values, priorities, and trust. In their promise and in their peril, these systems stand as a powerful example of how technology can extend human governance, for better and for worse, into the hidden layers of probability and prediction. Hikikomori virtual companions. Hikikomori virtual companions are digital entities designed to provide company, comfort, and a sense of connection to individuals who live in extended social withdrawal. The term hikikomori originated in Japan to describe people, often young adults, who retreat from society for months or even years, rarely leaving their homes and often avoiding face-to-face contact altogether. Virtual companions have emerged as a technological response to this phenomenon, offering interaction through screens, voices, and avatars where human presence is absent. The development of such companions is rooted in advances in artificial intelligence, voice synthesis, and interactive design. On a surface level, they can appear simple. A character displayed on a phone or computer screen, capable of speaking, listening, and responding in real time. Yet beneath this presentation lies a complex structure of algorithms designed to simulate empathy, conversation, and attentiveness. The virtual companion remembers user preferences, adapts its tone, and maintains the illusion of a continuous relationship. For individuals living in isolation, this technology offers a sense of connection that may otherwise be unattainable. The companion greets them in the morning, listens when they speak, and responds with words of encouragement or gentle humor. It does not judge, grow impatient, or demand effort in the way a human relationship might. For many, this provides a soothing presence, something to fill the silence, reduce loneliness, and restore a small measure of routine. The popularity of these systems reflects broader cultural and technological trends. In Japan, where Hikikomori is most widely recognized, the social pressures of education, work, and conformity can weigh heavily, leaving some unable to cope. Virtual companions step into this void, offering an accessible and non-threatening form of interaction. Outside Japan, similar technologies are spreading globally, framed as digital friends, wellness aids, or emotional support tools. They appear as chatbots, animated characters, or even holographic figures projected into a room. What makes Hikikomori virtual companions unsettling is the way they blur the distinction between authentic and simulated connection. The individual may feel cared for, yet the companion has no emotions, only programmed responses. It mimics intimacy without truly possessing it. The bond is one-sided. The human projects feelings onto the digital entity, while the entity responds according to design. This creates a paradoxical relationship, comforting yet artificial, personal yet manufactured. From a technical perspective, the design of such companions prioritizes consistency and availability. Unlike human friends who have their own lives and needs, the virtual companion exists entirely for the user. It is always present, always responsive, and always shaped to be agreeable. The absence of conflict or unpredictability can make the interaction feel safe, but it also risks deepening the individual's retreat from reality. If digital relationships replace human ones, the person may become more isolated rather than less. The psychological dimension is central to understanding this technology. Loneliness is a powerful force, and the brain responds to social stimuli even when it comes from artificial sources. A voice that addresses us, a face that smiles, or a message that feels directed at us can trigger emotional responses similar to those evoked by human interaction. Virtual companions exploit this capacity, providing the sensation of closeness without requiring another person. For someone who has withdrawn from society, this may feel like relief, but it can also reinforce avoidance. In cultural terms, Hikikomori virtual companions embody a shift in how technology addresses human needs. They do not aim to extend strength, speed, or intelligence, as other devices do. Instead, they aim to extend emotional connection, substituting for what is absent in daily life. This reflects a society where isolation and disconnection are increasingly common, and where technology steps in not only to solve practical problems but to soothe psychological wounds. There are also economic dimensions. Companies that create virtual companions often monetize them through subscriptions, upgrades, or personalized features. The relationship becomes both intimate and transactional. The user forms a bond, but that bond depends on continued payment. The companion may offer new expressions, words, or behaviors in exchange for purchase, deepening the sense that emotional connection is being commodified. The uncanny aspect of this technology lies not in its appearance, but in its function. A digital character that listens and responds may seem harmless, even charming, but when it becomes a primary source of companionship, it transforms from novelty into something deeper. The individual may shape daily life around interactions with the companion, prioritizing it over real human contact. The companion becomes a presence in the home, an anchor in solitude, and in doing so, it changes what it means to be alone. In reflecting on Hikikomori virtual companions, one sees both comfort and unease. They provide relief to those in need, but they also reveal the fragility of modern social structures. They suggest a future where technology does not merely entertain or assist, but occupies the most intimate spaces of the human psyche. The conversation, the smile, the reassurance, all delivered by lines of code, become substitutes for the unpredictable, imperfect, and demanding reality of human connection. Ultimately, this technology highlights a profound truth. Humans are wired for companionship, and when it is absent, they will seek it in whatever form is available. Hikikomori virtual companions are the manifestation of that search in the digital age. They show how far technology can go in replicating the forms of intimacy, while reminding us of the difference between simulation and reality. Comforting yet hollow, soothing yet strange, they represent a new frontier in the intersection of isolation and innovation. Smart dust. Smart dust is the name given to networks of microscopic sensors, so small they resemble grains of sand, capable of detecting, recording, and transmitting information about the world around them. The idea may sound like science fiction. Countless tiny machines, nearly invisible to the eye, dispersed through the air, the ground, or even the human body, quietly gathering data. Yet smart dust is a real field of research, pursued by laboratories and defense projects alike, representing one of the most striking intersections of miniaturization and surveillance. The concept first emerged in the 1990s at the University of California, Berkeley, where engineers explored how advances in microelectromechanical systems, known as MEMS, could be used to create extremely small but functional devices. By combining sensors, power supplies, and communication systems on a single chip, researchers envisioned a swarm of particles that could monitor environments in ways previously impossible. The phrase smart dust was coined to capture the image. Sensors so tiny they float like dust, yet collectively capable of forming a vast network of observation. Technically, smart dust devices are designed to measure factors such as temperature, light, vibration, chemical composition, or movement. Each particle, or mote as it is sometimes called, contains a miniature sensor, a processor, and a wireless transmitter. Individually, a mote can record only limited information, but in large numbers, spread across an area, they form a distributed system, providing detailed, real-time monitoring of an environment. Like pixels in a photograph, each mote contributes a fragment, and together they create a complete picture. The potential applications are wide-ranging. In agriculture, smart dust could track soil conditions, moisture, and crop health across vast fields, enabling precise management of resources. In industry, it could monitor machinery, detecting vibrations or stresses that signal potential failures before they occur. In medicine, motes small enough to circulate in the human body could monitor biological processes or deliver drugs with extraordinary precision. And in defense, they could be scattered across battlefields, silently tracking movement, sound, or chemical signatures. What makes smart dust unsettling is its invisibility. Unlike cameras or drones, which are tangible and recognizable, motes are almost imperceptible. They can be dispersed without detection, operating silently in the background. The idea of an environment filled with invisible sensors, constantly listening, measuring, and transmitting, challenges the very notion of privacy. A room may appear empty, yet be alive with unseen machines, quietly recording every vibration, every sound, every movement. Powering such devices has been one of the greatest technical challenges. Batteries at microscopic scale hold little energy, and recharging them is impractical. Researchers experiment with alternatives, harvesting power from ambient vibrations, light, or radio waves. Some designs seek to operate intermittently, conserving energy by transmitting data only when triggered by a specific event. These solutions demonstrate the ingenuity of engineers, but they also highlight the difficulty of controlling devices so small and numerous. Another challenge lies in communication. For smart dust to function, each mote must transmit data to a receiver, often through wireless networks. Coordinating thousands or millions of motes without interference requires sophisticated protocols. Engineers draw inspiration from biological systems, where colonies of insects or flocks of birds coordinate through simple rules that create complex patterns. In the same way, motes may operate individually with limited intelligence, but collectively they form an emergent system of remarkable capability. The imagery of smart dust often provokes a sense of unease because it evokes loss of control. Dust is everywhere, settling unnoticed on every surface. To imagine dust that watches, listens, and reports transforms the familiar into something alien. The thought that every breath or every step might be observed by invisible machines alters the perception of space itself. It is no longer just the visible environment that matters, but the unseen layer of microscopic devices woven into it. In reflecting on smart dust, one must also consider its dual nature. Like many technologies, it offers both promise and peril. The same motes that could monitor environmental pollution with unprecedented precision could also be deployed for mass surveillance. The same devices that might save lives in medical applications could be used to track individuals without their knowledge. The boundary between beneficial and invasive use is not determined by the technology itself but by the intent of those who control it. Culturally, smart dust symbolizes the extreme of miniaturization, the point at which machines disappear from sight yet continue to shape reality. It represents a shift in technological imagination, from devices we hold and see to devices that permeate the world around us invisibly. The unsettling aspect is not only that such systems might exist, but that they may operate without our awareness, influencing decisions, gathering information, and creating data profiles of lives we believe to be private. Ultimately, smart dust embodies both fascination and fear. It is a vision of a world where every surface, every space, and even every breath could be monitored with infinite detail. It demonstrates how far engineering has advanced, shrinking sensors and circuits to the scale of dust, and how profoundly such advances can alter human experience. In its promise of knowledge and its threat of omnipresent observation, smart dust stands as one of the most provocative technologies of the modern age, a reminder that the future may not always be visible, yet it is always present, surrounding us in forms we can scarcely perceive. Voice cloning AI. Voice cloning AI is a technology that allows the recreation of a person's voice with remarkable accuracy, generating speech that sounds almost indistinguishable from the original. By analyzing recordings of someone's speech, artificial intelligence can capture the unique patterns of tone, rhythm, pitch, and accent that define an individual voice. Once trained, the system can produce new sentences, words that the person never actually spoke, yet delivered in a voice that seems authentically theirs. The foundations of this technology lie in advances in deep learning and neural networks. A model is trained on audio samples, learning to map the features of human speech and replicate them with precision. Unlike earlier attempts at synthetic speech, which often sounded robotic and flat, modern systems reproduce not just the words but the subtle inflections, pauses, and emotions that make a voice feel alive. With only a few minutes of recorded material, some models can now generate an almost perfect replica. The appeal of voice cloning AI is easy to understand. Voices carry identity and emotion in ways few other traits do. They convey not just information but presence, intimacy, and familiarity. For entertainment, the technology offers the possibility of reviving historical voices, creating narration in any language, or giving fictional characters distinctive speech. For accessibility, it allows those who have lost their ability to speak to regain a digital version of their own voice, restoring a sense of individuality and connection. Yet the unsettling aspects of this technology are equally clear. A voice is deeply personal, and hearing it conjures trust and recognition. When a system can generate speech in someone's voice without their involvement, the boundary between authentic and artificial erodes. A message that sounds genuine may, in fact, be entirely fabricated. Words can be placed in a mouth that never spoke them, ideas attributed to a person who never expressed them. The result is a profound uncertainty. Can we trust what we hear if voices can be manufactured so easily? From a technical standpoint, the strength of these systems lies in their ability to model speech as a combination of linguistic and acoustic features. Neural networks learn how phonemes are pronounced, how tones rise and fall, how pauses create rhythm, and how subtle variations in pitch or emphasis convey emotion. Once this model is built, generating speech is simply a matter of inputting text. The output is not a recording but a simulation, crafted to sound natural and human. The applications extend far beyond novelty. In customer service, companies experiment with voice clones as assistants that sound warm and approachable. In media, actors' voices can be extended or replicated without requiring endless hours in the studio. In education, personalized narration can be delivered in the familiar voice of a teacher. These uses highlight the positive potential, where convenience, creativity, and accessibility merge. At the same time, the darker possibilities cannot be ignored. Voice cloning AI can be used to deceive, imitating trusted voices to manipulate, confuse, or impersonate. A phone call that sounds like a relative, a leader, or a colleague may be nothing more than a fabrication. Unlike written text, which can be scrutinized, or images, which may reveal imperfections, a convincing voice reaches us directly, bypassing critical analysis. It feels immediate and real, precisely because we are conditioned to trust the sound of a familiar voice. This duality between empowerment and deception defines the character of the technology. It grants individuals new forms of expression, but it also raises new vulnerabilities. As systems improve, the line between authentic and artificial grows thinner, and the need for verification, authentication, and caution grows stronger. Culturally, voice cloning AI resonates deeply because voices are more than functional tools. They are tied to memory, emotion, and identity. The voice of a loved one, preserved or recreated, can bring comfort and continuity. The voice of a historical figure, restored through AI, can bridge past and present. But the same qualities that make voices powerful also make them fragile. To replicate them without consent is to touch something intimate, blurring respect and exploitation. What makes this technology particularly striking is its ability to inhabit the uncanny valley of sound. Unlike artificial images, which may still reveal visual flaws, synthetic voices can be seamless, indistinguishable from the real. They occupy a space where trust and doubt collide. The listener may not know whether to accept or question what is heard. In this uncertainty lies the deeper unease, the erosion of sound as a reliable marker of truth. In reflecting on voice cloning AI, one encounters a paradox. It is a tool of restoration and creativity, offering voices to the voiceless and expanding artistic expression. Yet it is also a tool of manipulation, capable of undermining trust in one of the most fundamental aspects of communication. The technology demonstrates the power of artificial intelligence not only to extend human ability but to replicate human essence itself. Ultimately, voice cloning AI shows how far technology has progressed in mimicking the qualities that define us. It reveals both the wonder of engineering and the fragility of trust. In its promise to give voices back and its potential to put false words in real mouths, it captures the dual edge of innovation, the capacity to comfort and to unsettle, to preserve identity and to challenge it. Like an echo that is both familiar and strange, it reminds us that even the most personal traits can now be simulated, leaving us to question the authenticity of what we hear. Robotic police dogs. Robotic police dogs are quadruped machines designed to assist law enforcement in surveillance, reconnaissance, and, in some cases, direct intervention. They are modeled after the agility and balance of animals, able to walk, climb, and maneuver across environments that would be difficult for wheeled or tracked robots. Unlike traditional drones, which operate in the air, these machines move through streets, buildings, and stairwells, placing them directly within human spaces. Their presence feels both futuristic and strangely familiar, a machine that mimics life while serving the purposes of control. The most recognizable examples come from companies like Boston Dynamics, whose robotic quadrupeds have demonstrated remarkable mobility. Originally developed for military and industrial applications, these machines were later adapted for policing tasks. Equipped with cameras, sensors, and sometimes additional payloads, they can patrol areas, enter hazardous environments, and relay information to officers at a distance. Their four-legged design allows them to recover from falls, climb uneven terrain, and maintain stability under conditions that would challenge human officers. The promise of robotic police dogs lies in their utility. They can be sent into dangerous situations where human lives might otherwise be at risk. Hostage scenarios, bomb threats, or hazardous material sites. They serve as remote eyes and ears, transmitting video and audio in real time. In these roles, they extend the capabilities of law enforcement, offering presence without exposure. A robotic dog can enter a dark corridor or an unstable building where a human officer cannot safely go. Yet it is precisely this presence that unsettles many observers. Unlike cameras mounted on poles or drones that hover overhead, robotic dogs move among people. Their resemblance to living creatures, combined with their mechanical precision, evokes a mixture of fascination and unease. They appear lifelike but lack expression, emotion, or empathy. When such machines patrol neighborhoods, the effect can feel less like protection and more like surveillance embodied in a walking form. Technically, these machines rely on advanced locomotion algorithms. Their sensors allow them to detect obstacles, measure distances, and adjust posture in real time. They can navigate stairs, avoid collisions, and even remain balanced when pushed. Cameras provide panoramic vision, microphones capture sound, and in some cases, attachments can carry communication equipment or specialized tools. In essence, the robotic dog is a mobile platform, adaptable to whatever mission is required. For law enforcement, adaptability is key. A robotic dog may act as a scout, entering spaces to map interiors or locate individuals. It may serve as a mobile surveillance unit streaming data to a command center. Future designs may incorporate tools for interaction, loudspeakers, robotic arms, or non-lethal deterrence. Each extension increases utility but also amplifies the sense of intrusion, as the machine shifts from observation to action. Public reaction to robotic police dogs has been divided. Demonstrations often spark fascination, with videos showing machines trotting through city streets or opening doors. But when deployed in actual policing contexts, concerns quickly arise. Citizens question the symbolism of mechanical animals enforcing order. Unlike traditional tools of law enforcement, these machines resemble companions yet serve as instruments of authority. Their animal-like design, meant to increase mobility, also makes their presence more psychologically impactful. The cultural resonance is powerful. Dogs have long been associated with loyalty, guardianship, and companionship. To see a machine in canine form, but devoid of emotion, redefines that association. The robotic dog does not wag its tail or respond to affection. It patrols, observes, and reports, its purpose utilitarian rather than relational. This inversion of the familiar form contributes to the unease, as something trusted and warm is reimagined as cold and mechanical. Ethically, the use of such machines raises questions. What limits should be placed on their deployment? Should they remain tools for reconnaissance, or can they be armed, even with non-lethal means? The potential for escalation is clear. Once a robotic platform exists, its functions can be expanded. Each new capability changes the balance between protection and control, reshaping how communities experience the presence of law enforcement. The image of a robotic police dog walking silently through a city street captures the essence of modern surveillance technology. Embedded in public life, mobile, persistent, and quietly observing. Unlike stationary cameras, these machines suggest pursuit. Unlike human officers, they cannot be reasoned with or persuaded. Their judgment is mechanical, guided by algorithms and commands, not empathy or discretion. In reflecting on robotic police dogs, one sees both technological marvel and social tension. They embody the progress of robotics, achieving balance, agility, and endurance once thought impossible. But they also embody the growing integration of surveillance and authority into everyday life, making visible the presence of machines designed to enforce order. Ultimately, these machines illustrate the path of innovation as it enters the spaces of law, safety, and control. They are not merely tools but symbols of a society where machines increasingly walk among us, shaping the experience of security and authority. Whether seen as protectors or as harbingers of a mechanized future, robotic police dogs remind us that technology is no longer confined to devices in our hands or systems in the background. It is now embodied, mobile, and present, moving beside us in forms that both resemble and defy the living creatures they imitate. Ending. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. If this journey through unusual and sometimes unsettling technologies was interesting for you, don't forget to support the channel. Leave a like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to know what you think about these inventions and where they may lead us. If you found this video thought-provoking, consider sharing it with your friends. Together, we can explore more of these fascinating stories and continue our quiet dive into the world of science and technology.